Hi, I'm Alex and you are in the place in the sun. We will speak about advertising. Someone hates it, someone likes. But none of us can ignore it because it really changes our world. How does it happen? Today we will talk with a very extraordinary man. His name John Bailey. He gave to the promotion and advertising more than 40 years of his life. Hi John, once more.
Hi Sasha.
My first question is very simple. You worked in such giants like Saatchi and McCann Erickson. You were the creative director. But your way began in 1973, the age of flowers and creativity, of crazy ideas and big opportunities. Why did you choose exactly advertising, and what can you say about this age?
The first thing to say is that advertising is a very, very, very small business. Even in my country, in the UK, I would think there are no more than 20,000 people working in advertising in the whole country. Mm-hmm. And that's, remember, in a population of getting on for 70 million. And also remember that London is a centre for excellence. Many clients go to London to make their television commercials that they show in every European country.
Mm-hmm. It's a centre of advertising.
So it's very small. Consequently, there is very little education, formal education, that leads you to go into creative advertising. So virtually everyone you ask that question of will have the answer, it was an accident. My accident was that I actually intended to be a graphic designer, and I went to a British art school. Purely by accident, in this art school was the only course in the country, a one-year course to teach people advertising copywriting. Mm-hmm. Yes. But my accident was I went to this art school where in another room they were doing copywriting. And I just became fascinated with advertising, working with those people. In fact, I didn't finish my graphic design course. Mm-hmm. I spent the last year with them. Then I trod the streets of London with my pathetic work, looking for a job in advertising, and no luck at all. But I did, at J. Walter Thompson, discover that they actually, this was the rich days of the 70s, they actually ran a training course for people, an interim course of 1 year, where they took a trainee art director or copywriter and introduced them over this 1 year within the agency into the real world inside. And I was fortunate enough to be one of those 6 people from over 1,400 applicants. So, as you see, chance and luck play a huge part in this process.
But second part of question, what was the atmosphere around you in London, in England, in this time?
I have to teach you perhaps a little bit of English history. 1973. There was huge conflict between the trade unions and the government.
Yes.
And there were strikes every week, virtually. Some public sector workers were on strike and then another lot were on strike. Mm-hmm. And it culminated in what we called the 3-day week, because the power workers went on strike.
It wasn't the age of flowers.
And business could only work 3 days a week because there was only electricity 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty chaotic, really. But of course, being a young kid in London, it was all just an experience for me.
Mm-hmm. No. John, now I want to ask you, tell the story about your vision of advertising at first. You told me that it looks for you like crosswords.
When people ask me what I do, I say, well, all my life, we all know what a crossword puzzle is, yes? That we see in a newspaper where you have to find the words that fit the squares. Mm-hmm. Well, advertising is rather like doing a crossword puzzle with words and pictures together. Mm-hmm. Because every advertisement is handmade. It isn't mass-produced, you know. Every advertisement you see was an answer to a specific problem that was written as a brief. So although, because I've done it for so long, I recognise similarities in problems I'm given, everyone is actually a unique problem, and everyone has a unique solution, or many unique solutions.
Yes, with new assignment. You have a new world begin.
Yes, you have a new crossword puzzle.
Yes.
And everyone's different.
Then I've got a little sketch, and I have to say a couple of words to the audience, okay? In the Soviet Union was a shortage of cars. They didn't need any advertisement. And when the first commercial of the new car had been shown on a TV, it looked more ridiculously. But famous Soviet presenter Igor Kirillov played his role magnificently.
Дорогие москвичи, нам приятно сообщить
Dear
вам
Moscovites,
новость.
we are pleased to tell you the news. Just now the cars market received a first batch of the new Zaporozhets. New model has a substantial difference from the absolute one. Nice car, isn't it true? Modern, elegant.
Безусловно, она завоюет
Of
самое
course,
ближайшее
it will
время
win the hearts of the
симпатии
millions of
многомиллионной
consumers.
армии автолюбителей.
What is the
Чем же
difference
отличается
between
новая
old
модель от
and
старой?
new model? As
Багажник
well
новой
as
модели, как
in
и
the
в старой,
previous ones,
находится
a trunk
в
is
передней
placed
части
in front
автомобиля,
part,
но он
but it
стал
has
значительно
become much
просторнее.
more
За счет чего?
spacey. At what
За счет того,
expense?
что бензобак
Due to the
перенесен
fact that
тоже
the
в заднюю
gasoline
часть,
tank
что
has been
находится
moved to
за
the rear
задним
part.
сиденьем. Вот
Look,
посмотрите,
such
очень
spacious
просторный,
and
удобный.
convenient
Салон
trunk.
намного
The
просторнее,
vehicle
чем в старой
interior
модели.
has become more
Почти такой же,
spacey
как
too,
модели
almost the
москвича.
same as in the Moskvich
Всего лишь на
408.
1,5
This
сантиметра.
car is only half of inch narrower than Moskvich 408.
Двигатель расположен в новой модели
The
так же,
engine's
как и в
power
старой задней
has been
части
forced
автомобиля.
to 30
Мощность его
horsepower.
доведена до 30 лошадиных сил.
Engine is very
Здесь очень
convenient
удобен,
in terms of
он,
access.
удобен в смысле доступа
It's
к нему.
all about engine.
Вот что хотелось сказать о двигателе.
But we dedicate this short TV spot not to the advertising of new car. It absolutely doesn't need such. Our purpose is to answer the questions of numerous consumers who want to know how to buy this
новый
vehicle.
автомобиль.
The first commercials and advertising in Soviet Union. What do you think about?
Well, put it this way, a presenter
Yes.
is still a well-used advertising technique.
Yes, I know.
And certainly getting a famous presenter is something that you see in every country in the world today. I can't think of what, I'm sure if you gave me 5 minutes research on Google, I could find you 10 commercials.
Like this.
Like that.
Yes.
Of course, with much more sophistication these days. You know, in those days we didn't have computer graphics.
Yes, John, a very serious question I've got. Society and state of society. How does advertising itself reveal the state of society?
In my experience, advertising always follows society. It does not lead it. Otherwise, it's not its job to lead it. The most successful products and the most successful brands are those that emotionally, and rationally of course, get closest to their target consumers. But it never leads a society. Of course, some people think it does, because let's say you are 60 and you see a commercial that's aimed at 18-year-olds. You might find that very subversive because you're 60. But it isn't subversive for the 18-year-olds. It's how they are. It's how they speak. It's part of them. It's not leading them anything they're not doing already. It's just that if you're 60, you think it is. You think it's teaching them bad things. These bad things they know already.
So we can't learn the story with the learning of advertising.
I think advertising, when you see, for instance, a commercial like the one you've just seen from 1967, exactly reflects how your society was in 1967.
Yes. And I've got next question. You lived in Ukraine more than 15 years.
I did.
Yes?
I have.
Yes. First part of question: why the Ukraine became your second, your new home?
Well, first of all, I was a Cold War child. I mean, in the 60s and 70s and 80s, as you well know, my part of the world and your part of the world were facing each other with nuclear weapons like this.
I know it.
And of course, on your side of the world, you had your propaganda, and on my side of the world, I had my propaganda. And of course, you in the Ukraine and Russia were all terribly bad people who wanted to kill us all. And I'm sure you were told the same thing.
But we have Beatles and John Lennon and...
Now, I was always fascinated by if you like, the Eastern Bloc. I mean, I couldn't really believe that you weren't all like we were, human beings, you know, that laughed, that cried, that made love, that got drunk, and that did all the things we did. And I always had a fascination. I always wanted to come to your part of the world to see for myself.
To break the border, we told about it.
And
break the border and know what's happened there.
And I still remember the day in 1998, it was February, and I came to your city, Kiev, to see what was McCann Ericsson's very newest office. Because McCann Erickson is a big multinational advertising agency that I spent a lot of my life working for. And they had just bought what I could only describe as a small design agency here in Kiev. They needed someone to come here, a creative director, to basically teach Ukrainian people how to do multinational advertising.
We have serious problem with creativity here. John, please tell the story about your first, maybe not first, your first brainstorming with the Ukrainians employers.
Well, the first brief that I got from a client that I felt had some potential, I said to everybody in the office, not just my creative department, but also the client management people, I said, anyone can have an idea. Here is an interesting brief from this client. All please go away and think of some ideas that answer this problem, answer this crossword puzzle. And I watched all these people go into one meeting room together. They didn't do it by themselves. They went into a meeting room and they sat there for 3 hours, about 16 people. And then they came out and the leader, the appointed leader, came and presented to me the ideas. And they were the worst ideas I've ever heard, ever, anywhere. And the reason for that is that you don't do creative work like a committee. There's an old saying in my part of the world, why is a camel so ugly? It's because it's a horse designed by a committee. and that is true also.
I understand slowly, but I understand.
and the truth about advertising ideas is that they're done by one person, or at the very most by two. You remember I described the copywriter and the art director working together. They're not done by 16 people, because any idea that's created by 16 people will have all the originality removed by that committee. Oh, I don't like that. I'm going to take that out.
John, and the next question. You lived here, as I told, for 15 years, and you saw us in the 90s, and you saw us. You see us now. Yes. How did we change? How did we Ukrainians change through all these years?
I'm afraid that fear of having an individual idea is still here. People are still frightened to have an individual opinion. They still like to hide in groups of 4 or 5 and say, this is our joint decision. And it'll take some time for that to go.
John, now I've got the next spot, TV spot, and make a couple of words, okay? If you think that Dr. Freud is dead, you are mistaken. His legacy lives in most of the commercials that come across your mind. Imagine you are the kitchen sink. What is the feel to be clean? What's about the greasy dish? And you, please, become a safety belt. What do you feel when you are being fastened? All that happens in this room is very serious. The smart people and precise devices are behind the mirror. They notice everything. Your smile here may bring to somebody $1 million profit, and the grimace can terminate the whole branch of someone's business. Say something, all that you want, forget the complexes, show up your emotions. It looks like the session of group therapy.
Yes, it is. Psychologist Ernst Dichter was a Sigmund Freud follower. He developed focus group method after the big corporations' request. Businessmen were suffering from desire to know how the customers make his choice. Customers' behavior depends on the irrational and subconscious wishes, reckoned Ernst. It's too shameful even to speak of them. You have to use the free association method. Observe the intonation and mimics, notice the mistakes and tongue slips. Dichter organized the first parlor for products psychoanalysis over own garage. Here people taste the food, tried on the clothes, watched the commercials, commented, admired, complained. At first it seemed their amusement, but one day Ernst Dichter received an assignment from a company that makes semi-finished cakes. Generally speaking, housewives like these products, but for some reason they were refusing to buy it. The company was sustaining losses. While scientists were exploring the subconscious of women, he had discovered a strange thing. When women were cooking the cake from a packet, they were feeling guilt. It was a shame for them to treat their men with that easy-made cake. The psychological threshold must be destroyed. And solution had been found in changing of the recipe. If women had to add at least one egg to the mix, it would resemble the act of maternity, and conscience would be silent. It looks like madness, but it works. The new commercials had been made and sales flew up. But we want to notice the next. From that egg had begun the love affair of marketing and psychoanalysis. And in that story, the feelings grow stronger day after day.
John, you told me about focus group, and you have your own vision of this powerful thing. What do you think about focus group and psychoanalysis in advertising at all?
I think it's a very important thing, a very, very important thing indeed, because it enables the client to give me the right brief. A lot of thought goes into advertising to get closest, as close as you can, to the mindset of the person that you want to buy your product. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But there is a safety check in this. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. If I overpromise in my advertising, if I tell people that this whatever it is more wonderful than it actually is, mm-hmm. Sure, I can persuade people to buy something once, mm-hmm. but if they're disappointed with it, they'll never buy it again, whatever I say. Mm-hmm. And that's almost the safety check, the built-in safety measure mm-hmm. that exists in advertising. Mm-hmm. If you actually overpromise a product, or try and charge too much for it, mm-hmm. or say it does something that it doesn't do, mm-hmm. yeah, you'll persuade people to buy it the first time, but they'll never buy it again.
Yes, the bad yogurt you can sell only one time.
Yeah.
What recipes and tricks are taboo for your team? And
what we don't do, well, first of all, society, the society you're working in is very much a check and balance. I mean, I can give you an example about how many clothes can a woman, how much clothing or how little clothing can a woman wear? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, actually, if you go to Scandinavia mm-hmm, mm-hmm. and look at, say, Swedish advertising, mm-hmm. You'll see naked people sometimes. Mm-hmm. I mean, completely naked. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When I worked in Africa, if the woman's dress was higher than this, you'd get letters of complaints.
So
the society tells you how far you can go. Mm-hmm. You have to be within the bounds of decency in the eyes of the society that you're talking to.
I understand, John. But what's about your own personal code of ethics?
My own, I don't lie. I really don't lie. I mean, I always try and dissuade our clients completely. You can't say that. You can't do that. And for the reason I said before, for their own good. You know, I can sell it once,
yes,
but they'll never buy it again.
Yes.
And this really isn't in the client's best interest mm-hmm. to lie about that product.
I know that you have some clients, some not easy clients, and you used to even stop the negotiations with them, and
yes,
show
indeed.
them the door.
Yes.
Is it true? And tell this story.
Yes, it is, because I'm nowhere near as important in society as a doctor. But on the other hand, I do believe that when people come to see me and my agency, they're coming for a consultancy. They're coming for some advice. They're coming for a diagnosis of what's wrong or what's right with their communications, and they're looking for a cure to their problems. So consequently, advertising is not brain surgery. You know, I mean, if I get it wrong, nobody dies. No, so I'm in no way saying I'm as important as a doctor. However, you've got to be some kind of fool to go to a doctor and say to him, I know what's wrong. I know what's wrong with me.
I read it on the internet.
Yeah, I read it. I know what's
it's
wrong with
bad,
me.
yes.
Just prescribe me these drugs from the chemist. You know, you've got to be some kind of fool to do that, haven't you? But unfortunately, there are certain people in my past who've come into my agency and behaved just like that. And I'm afraid I said, well, you know, you don't need to talk to me. You need to go and talk to a production company who'll just make your television commercial or whatever it is as you think you want it. So there's the door. You know, we have a saying in Britain, why buy a dog and bark yourself?
Yes.
I'm afraid, yes, I said, quite politely, you know, you don't need to talk to me anymore. Please go and use that door over there.
What did say about it your colleagues?
Well, of course, that is a completely alien thing in your society, I'm afraid to say. But we had, our building we had actually had a video camera that could see the front door. And we went to look at what the video camera was seeing. We saw these two clients, who I just said goodbye to, going like this. You know, I am a service industry, but I'm not a subservient industry.
John, I've got a little sketch with the same things, okay?
Okay.
The creation without strategy is art, but creation with the strategy and purpose is advertising or business. But even Rembrandt the Great couldn't tell one from another.
Rembrandt had a beloved pet monkey, great talent and many costs. But people used to pay money for the group portraits. It was an order of the day. What will you do? There was a society of shooters, for instance. They already had the picture called Feasting, but it was too little for them. They wanted a canvas by Rembrandt. In the end, the painter accepted the offer. He agreed on a good price, caught an inspiration, and his brush began to dance by canvas. The work was going toward the end when the customers began to come. Could you take off the shade from my face? Could you place me in the first row? I paid like everyone else. Could you make me taller and make a belly smaller a bit? I'm so slim indeed. Visitors were coming one by one. If master wasn't wrapped up in work, he would kick them downstairs. But he was keeping the patience and went on walking. Despite all the customers' appeal, he made no change in this painting. As soon he had got rid of the shooters, the respectful family had come. Picture us together for descendants. At first all went nice. The images were amazing. They looked more real than originals. Client was satisfied and looking for the free space on the wall. In this moment, the messenger had brought the bad news. Master's beloved monkey is dead. Painter was strongly shocked and hadn't remembered how happened the next. His hand made drawing of monkey's touching figure in the corner of the canvas. Burghers were in fury. Take out the macaque. It's a family portrait, not a zoo. What will people think of us? Believe it or not, but legend says that master didn't touch the canvas anymore.
Monkey was left on the picture. Portrait was left in workshop. The customers were left empty-handed. They blew the trumpet of that accident and urged not to make a deal with that crazy man called Rembrandt.
That reminds me of something else that I have been known to say to clients. You know, let's say we've shot the commercial and we're now putting it together, the editing, putting the titles on it, doing the graphics that go with it. The clients can get very, very tiring at this point of the process because they will change things over and over and over again. Tiny changes that make no difference to the way a consumer will view this advertisement. And what I say at this point is, talking about Rembrandt, I say, do you know why the great painters like Rembrandt were great? And they go, no. I said, they knew when to stop painting.
It's a nice story. Despite of all appeals to virtues and humanity, the main hero of advertising message, it's a product. And main goal to increase the level of volume of sales, yes?
Yes.
To increase the volume of sales. And I've got a question. May we call an advertising creator a real artist? Or he is only a servant for big business or something another?
No, he's not an artist at all. Or she.
Or she.
You are. I mean, one of my favourite descriptions about advertising is to say it's the oil that lubricates the wheels of capitalism.
Huh. Yes.
And that's what it is. But that's not to say that advertising cannot, on occasions, be art. Mm-hmm. It can. But it wouldn't be the intention to create art at the beginning. If it becomes art, it's the byproduct of the process. Mm-hmm. Remember I said at the beginning, every advertisement is handmade. Mm-hmm. It's like a handmade suit that fits that particular model, that particular body. Sometimes, as we all know in fashion, you have a work of genius. You get someone like Alistair McQueen, who created clothes of genius. But that's like a tiny, tiny percentage of, most of the time we wear functional clothes, don't we? They're not art. But occasionally they can be. Advertising is like a suit of clothes, It's basically a functional thing. We wear trousers to keep ourselves decent. We wear coats to keep ourselves warm. But sometimes clothes can be art, can't they? But it's not its primary function. It's a secondary thing.
Yes. John, can you remember your work that was a bit of art, indeed?
Well, I can remember something I did in Kenya, in Africa.
Yes.
And it got as close to the hearts of Kenyans as I think anything could, and it's so simple to describe. Kenya as a country does not have a lot to be proud of, to be honest.
Yes.
There's not a lot that you can think we're world class in that. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But they do have an international airline called Kenya Airways. And Kenya Airways bought 3 new Boeing 767s. Not third-hand ones, that have been with other airlines, brand new ones from Seattle. And we were the agency. And we did what we call a teaser campaign. What we did was we did an ad saying, it's left, our first 767 has left Seattle. Mm-hmm. And on the next day we'd say, it's over the Atlantic. Mm-hmm. The third day it said, it's landed in London, and they're fitting the seats. On the 4th day we said, it's nearly ready, and so on. Until on the Saturday, we did a big double-page spread in one of the newspapers. And he said, our new Boeing 767, it's here, and it's ours. And those 3 little words, and it's ours, touched the pride of Kenya. I mean, there were thousands of letters to Kenya Airways saying, we're so proud. That's such a great ad. And it touched me too, because that's my job. I got as close as I could to the heart of a Kenyan, and I touched it, just there. and that's something I will always be proud of. The other thing from Africa that I was very proud of is that Africa, Kenya, is a country, in many parts of Kenya, there's no electricity at all. No electricity.
They used
The
fire?
little villages, you know.
They used fire or...
And there's no billboards or anything, you know, so you can't use television as a medium. And one of our products was the most popular margarine, if you know what that is, in Kenya, called Blue Band. And it's everywhere you go, every Kenyan kitchen will have a tub of Blue Band. It's sort of an institution.
Mm-hmm.
So how to talk to these people in the little villages with no electricity?
Yes.
Well,
Without TV?
Without TV, without any electricity. Yes, they do have radio.
Even radio?
Yeah, they have radio with batteries,
Yes.
of course, but basically no billboards or anything like that. But of course, in every Kenyan house there is a cooking fire.
Yes.
So we printed 7.
From bricks?
Yeah, there's a fire that
Yes,
you'll
yes.
cook with. Yes.
Fireplace.
An open fireplace. An open fire. So we printed 7 million matches, boxes of matches, with our advertising message on the back.
It's a good idea, good idea.
Because every Kenyan house has a box of matches.
Nice.
I was very proud of that too. Not glamorous thing, but a perfect solution to the crossword puzzle.
Yes. John, I have one more question about the person of copywriter or creative man in the agency. Imagine the situation when one young and very creativity man has a very dominion, a very terrible, very powerful director that force him to make some standards, some very simple, some not interesting. What can this young man do? What your recipe for him?
Look for another agency.
But if
well, I can only describe the way I've tried to be a creative director in the last 20 years, because that's what I've been. In other words, I've been the person in charge of this department, the director, as you say. The first thing is to say is that advertising people are very intelligent. They would quickly work out, you know, we're all human beings with our own likes and dislikes. I'm always very careful not to give any indication of what I like too much or what I don't like. Because very quickly, if I'm very definite about saying, I like this kind of advertising, they'll start doing advertising for me.
not for client.
And not for the client, and not for the
audience,
and
yes.
not for the crossword puzzle. So it's wrong of me as a director anyway to say you should do this my way. Every human being is an individual with their own ideas. As long as their idea fits the crossword puzzle, it's perfectly valid, and it should be presented. You know, we don't ever just present one idea to the client. It's a minimum of 3 usually, because, as I said, there is no one correct answer.
And what's about the creation in one moment? What's about of insight? What do you do when you have an insight in the meeting, in the negotiations?
You don't do it. You never have an idea in front of the client.
Why?
They'll think it's easy. And it isn't. We have another old saying in Britain, in advertising: do you want it good, or do you want it on Thursday?
Oh, yes.
Because actually, time, it's like programming my computer in here. The longer I leave the problem inside my head, not looking at it too much, by the way, only occasionally thinking about it, the longer I can leave it in there, the better the answer will be. But if you try and do it fast, you know, you're just going to end up with a very superficial answer.
John, is it real that you always try to equalize rights of creators of advertising, copywriters, for example, or designers, with the rights of account managers, with the rights of sellers?
That's a very, very good point. in my opinion, the sellers, the client management as you call them, and the status of the creative people should be absolutely equal. 50%, 50%.
Yes.
Because without us, they don't have anything to sell. But without them, it wouldn't get sold. So it's mutually, it's to our mutual advantage that we both treat each other with respect.
We have next serious problem, the admiring of the money, and it's not normal. We have to admire the money. We have to appreciate them, but we have not to.
If you chase money,
to pray for it.
In my experience, my own personal experience in life, if you chase money, you never catch it.
Yes.
But if you do something very, very well as you can, money finds you. Money will pay you. People will pay you because you're good at something.
Are ideas more expensive than money?
They're more valuable to me than money. For me, I used to say, and I still say, we have all this fun and we get paid for it as well. And I think that's the right way to approach advertising if you work within it. Mm-hmm. It is amazingly fun. It is, you never know what's going to happen today. Think of it that way. It's really nice to go to an office and think, I wonder what's going to happen today then. Now, there's not many jobs where...
Like child.
Yes. There's not many jobs like that in this world.
Yes. We have we have to finish our program, mm-hmm. But I ask you to say something that you want. Maybe you wanna something to add.
Advertising for me, as you can see, I'm not a young man anymore. Although
you looks like,
but maybe inside I still think I'm 25. All I can say for me is that advertising for me has enabled me to work in 4 countries, not my own, to get to know all of you in Ukraine and how you are, but also in Poland, in Africa, in Kenya, and it's enabled me to travel to at least another 30 countries on advertising business. And if I dropped dead tomorrow, I couldn't complain. Is that
Thank you. Thank you very much for this
Sasha.
story. Yes, and I have to say a couple of words to our audience. Okay. I bet you will now watch the advertising with much more interest, because it's really a mirror that reflects all we wish today and something that we will wish tomorrow. Do we really want to wish it? That is the question. It was A Place in the Sun, the program for those who search. I'm Alex, and my guest was John Bailey, the guru of advertising and promotion. Search for another stories with coaches of life in our YouTube channel, Place in the Sun. I'll glad to see you in the company of professionals. Goodbye.